If you've ever wondered what properties are and why they're so useful in Camtasia and how they can change many of the things you do when you edit a video, this is the video for you. I'm going to take you through properties. I'm going to show you lots of examples of why they are so powerful and key to dominating and using Camtasia. Just to clarify something, I am a recommended Camtasia trainer. You will find me on their website, but I don't work for TechSmith. They simply recommend me as a TechSmith Camtasia trainer because I've been using the technology since 2006. Really hope you like the video, and as always, if you do, please like it, please share it, please comment on it, and of course join me on my new project, Screencast Guru. Okay, if you do want to work with Camtasia and try it out, then we'll put a link below in the description where you can click and link and download Camtasia for 30 days and give it a try. Okay, to make things easy, let's look at an actual video that I've already made, and we can see here, on here, we've got something called a callout. A callout is this kind of arrow that points on the screen, and it comes onto the screen and then it comes off again. Now, what I can do is if I click on that object, we can call it an object, over on the right hand side we'll have something called the properties, and these are basically the characteristics of that particular object. So for example, if I click on it, I've got it selected already, you can see that it's selected. I could, with the properties box open, I could change the color and say, well, actually I want the color to be this color here. So I can click on another color and notice immediately that it updates. Okay, so this ability to be able to change the characteristics, the properties of a particular object is really important. Now, there'll often be quite a lot of properties to a particular object. So for example, this one, another change that we can make is that we can click here and change this from an arrow, for example, to a rectangular box, which I often do. Or we could change it to let's say, for example, a different type of text arrow. So we're going to click on this one. Okay, so we've got two types of text arrow, and I can do that. Now, many objects will actually have quite a lot of properties. So for example, this one has the property of having an outline around the box or around the arrow. So for example, if I was now to increase this, you'll notice then suddenly I get this kind of arrow around the outside. Now, a lot of people miss the number of properties that a particular object has got. This one, for example, also has the opacity, so we can actually reduce the opacity as well. Okay, and we can even increase the corner radius, which kind of softens the arrow, etc. So you can play around with these different properties and choose the ones that you like. Let's contrast that to another object. So what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to add a draw tool onto the screen, because on this part of the video I want to draw around this area here. So I'm going to come over to the left here, click on annotations, I'm going to click on the draw tool, and then I'm going to drag that draw tool on, and the bit that I want to draw around is this part here of the video. I'll zoom in a little bit so we can just see this a little bit better. And let me just show you now. Let me just play this so you can see the effect first of all. So I'm just going to click here, and you can see that it draws around it. Now, in the same way that the call out that I just showed you before, if I click on that object, and again I have to open up the properties, notice that this object has different properties. Now, one of them is similar because it has a color, and I could update and choose a completely different color for the line that's being drawn around. And then other than that, I could also, for example, in the properties, just make sure again that I've got it selected, I could change the thickness and say, okay, I want it to be much thicker. And also I could change the draw time. I will say, right, okay, I want you to draw very slowly. I want you to draw very quickly. So I can do that. So let's have a look now at the result of this. If I play this video now, you'll see that it's completely different. It's now a different color, and it's going to draw a lot quicker. Watch this. Okay, in fact, probably drawing too fast. So this is what I'm saying about the power of understanding how properties work, because properties allow you to make lots and lots of changes to a particular object. Now it goes a little bit further than this. I'm going to just try to explain one more thing. Okay, so far pretty simple, hey? Because we've just been looking at a few basic properties connected to a particular object. But in fact, it can get a little bit more complicated than that, because you might have multiple properties that you can change. And I'm going to show you in a minute some examples. If you're finding the video useful, please click on the like button, because this is my new project, Screencast Guru, and I'm trying to get it off the ground. And one other thing, if you really are interested in Camtasia, remember I've said there's a link below, but I'm going to put a course on the screen now, or an introductory course that you might find really interesting if you are a beginner and you want to use Camtasia. Right, let's have a look now then at more complicated examples where there are multiple properties that can be changed. Okay, so if we looked at this bit of video here, we've got a webcam recording on the screen, okay, and I can see that webcam recording here, so I'm going to click on it. So we're focusing on the webcam recording, and if we come over to the properties of that particular object, remember we can click on or off them. We've got various ones that we can play around with. So this webcam object, currently we can scale it bigger or smaller. We can change the opacity if we want to, kind of have it different opacity, which can be actually quite effective. We can skew it as well, and we can do various other things like where we position it on the screen. I'm just going to set it back to normal by just clicking on that and undoing that. Now the other thing is though, we can apply other effects to this webcam recording. So if I come over to my visual effects, for example, right, just to give you an example, I could colorize it. I could click on, or I could color tint. So I could drag on a new effect, and that's going to give me basically a new property to set. See? So now this didn't exist before, and if I click on that, it will disappear. And I can do this with quite a lot of things. So for example, I could drag on color adjustments. And now again, you see I've got a new property box that opens up, because now not only have I got these basic settings, but because I've added this effect, this color adjustment, I've now got some additional ones that I can play around with, like contrast. And notice here, for example, I've got all these different kind of options. Okay, so let's say if I want this one, and then I could play around with the saturation levels and the contrast levels and the brightness levels, etc. Okay, so you can kind of work with these and find, you know, something that you're happy with. And again, you've got the option to add or to change the properties of that particular effect. Now you could be adding multiple effects to an object. So for example, in this case, let's say I decide, right, I want to add a mask. I'm going to drop a mask onto there, and then now I'm going to have a new effect, which is the mask. And the mask, I'm going to actually, I want the mask to be around the so that's fine. In fact, no, that's fine, leave it like that. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to be a rectangle, and then I'm going to add a border around that mask. So I'm going to come down to borders. So I'm still in visual effects. I'm going to add another effect onto it, which is a border, and again the border will have various properties. Now I'm going to set the border around this object, so I'm going to choose alpha, and then I'm going to kind of set it to be much thicker. So I can just drag that out and get a lot thicker. Now I'm going to change the color to a much darker color. Okay, I hope you're finding this useful. If you are, don't forget, please click on that like button. So the point I'm trying to make here is that each object that you add onto the screen has some basic properties, but if you add additional effects onto that object, then you're going to have additional properties that you'll be able to set, and therefore it is possible that one object on your screen has multiple properties to set because you've added different effects onto that object. And that's exactly what I did with the webcam. Okay, really hope you found that video useful. If you want more free videos, come over to my website, teachertrainingvideos.com. There's a special section on screen capture, and there's loads and loads of Camtasia videos there, going right back to Camtasia 22, 23, etc. Also, from the same website, if you wanted me to do some training with you and you want to contact me, you can contact me from the website. I do training with individuals or with groups, both online and, if it's okay for me to travel, face-to-face as well. The other interesting thing is on the website, all of the videos on there have all been made using Camtasia, so it can be quite interesting just to look at some of the videos. I'm going to leave a few more interesting videos on the screen now, particularly a useful playlist for you, and thank you very much.